G'day, everybody.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Good Day podcast, coming to you from Potato the Prado in a parking lot when it's raining outside.
Yep, we're in our car. You will probably hear some background noise of rain. Corey's going to try to edit that out later.
Yeah, we'll try and reduce that noise a little bit, but we're overlooking the beautiful Bremer Bay, something, I don't know.
Dog beach or something.
Yeah, boat launch beach, I think it's called.
It's really pretty, but it's just pouring today, and the weather says 0% precipitation.
Yeah, no rain on the forecast, but what's going on here? Looks like it's raining to me, guys, and that's what it's doing. It's raining.
Yes,
So I think that the U.S. has like a better weather prediction forecasting system or something, because this is like the third time where it's like no rain and it rains, because it happened in Phillip Island and now it happened here.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good run with no rain in the tent, but it's raining today.
Yes, and I guess you guys don't even know where we are. So we're in Southwest Australia.
No, southeast, right?
No,
I guess
Southwest.
Or can we just call it south, Western Australia?
Yes, Western Australia, the southest point. And it was a journey getting over here. We'll definitely talk about that. But I think where we left off, we last talked to you guys. We were in a hotel in
Glenegg Beach, Adelaide, yeah.
And that was really nice. It was an adventure getting to that hotel, just because some trials and tribulations of Airbnbs and such. But we made it, and we're here. There was some stuff we forgot to talk about in last episode, so do you want to dive into that, Maxi?
Yeah, we'll just go on these little side stories really quick, and then we'll get to, like, the update.
Yeah.
Because Corey skipped over it in our notes from last episode, and I thought he purposely skipped over it, but then he was like, oh no, we forgot that. So, when we were camping on Phillip Island, I think it was our very first night camping, and it was raining that first night. We cooked in the camp kitchen, and this man from Nepal came in and started cooking next to us, and he was just like, he asked us what we studied in school and whatever. He was probably about like 40.
Probably a little younger, 35.
Yeah, maybe younger, and he's been living in Australia since 2008, and I made the mistake of telling him that I studied film, which I probably should have just gone straight to marketing, because I work in marketing now. An easy answer. No one really cares to discuss marketing, which is great. Don't like small talk. So I said film, and he happened to be like a wannabe filmmaker, superstar,
He wanted
actor.
to be a Hollywood movie star.
Yeah, basically.
That was his dream. He said, my life dream is to be in movies. All I do is I try to get cast as like an extra in all these things, and it's my one dream in the world to be in movies.
And it seemed like he hadn't even gotten a job as an extra. Like, he was like,
Yeah.
I would do anything. And so he was absolutely grilling me, because he was like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite genre? Like, what movies have you worked on?
What movies have you made?
And he was like, I know. And then he started like being crazy, and he was like, I know I don't look like your typical movie star. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, because like the color of my skin and how I look and like whatever. And I was like, what? Like, what are we saying here?
Yeah.
Like, sir, like, I'm making friends with you. Like, why are you going down like this negative
race rabbit hole?
Yeah, like, that's not what this is about. And then he was like, you're a privileged American and you haven't made any movies. And I was like, no, I work in marketing. And he was like, well, why would you do that? I just can't wrap my head around how you studied film for 3 years, because Australia's degrees are 3 years when the US has 4-year degrees. So like, he was even more flabbergasted when I said no, 4 years, but not really because I switched my major so many times.
Yeah.
But he was like, you're a privileged American and you haven't been working on any movies. I was like, sir, I graduated in 2020 during COVID. Hollywood was shut down. Like, and that's just not what I want to do. Like, I use film all the time in my jobs. Like, I work in social media. I work with TikToks and Reels and everything for clients. Like, I use my skills, and he just could not wrap his head around it. And he was like, I have one dream. It's just to be in a movie. I have one dream. You have a ton of dreams? Wow, you're so privileged. You have a ton of dreams?
I know. He was just like a very weird man that didn't really understand social cues and like was coming at us hot. Just I don't really know where he was coming from.
He was just so passionate about movies and
Yeah,
like
it was strange.
privilege
I think he just has
contest.
like a lot of people have ideas of like America down here, and like it's it's not what they like think. I mean, if and we were just then like after that like weird conversation, we were just like sitting in our tent talking about it, and we're like, if like that guy made it all the way from Nepal to Melbourne,
Yeah.
that's you could go all the way to LA, and that's just a little bit further. So if his real dream was to be in movies, he's in the wrong spot. And it was just
Yeah.
like, I don't know, he was really weirdly aggressive. Not
Yeah, we
aggressive,
were just
but
being so like nice cooking. Like we didn't even want to talk to him in the first place,
yeah.
and he was just like being crazy.
So these campgrounds that we stay at just are breeding grounds for small talk. If you're not good at small talk, just go to one of these places, go hang out in a common space, and you'll be put into the flamethrower. Because, like, that's what people do. They talk, they chit chat, you know?
Corey's dad would love it.
Yeah, everyone talks here. And we've met some really nice people just small
Yeah.
talking, but his was just not a fun experience, I remember.
Yeah, and I wanted to be like, you literally have one dream. Like, I have so many dreams. Like, I would like to have a G-Wagon one day. I like just like random little dreams. He was like, I have one singular
Just to be in a
dream.
movie.
And he was like, that's so crazy you have multiple dreams. Like, sir, if you have one dream, go move to Hollywood. That
Yeah.
is so, I don't know. He was crazy.
Yeah, and then another thing that it's kind of been we've been seeing around here more is like these signs of like
Report antisocial
yeah, report
behavior.
antisocial behavior like at a basketball game, report antisocial behavior like ads, and we were thinking, and then
And like
on
on airplanes and like anywhere in like a
public
public setting.
spaces, buses,
Like,
yeah.
call this number to report anyone who's showing antisocial behavior.
And we were thinking that's really weird. Like, I mean, sometimes people just want to sit on their phones and not talk to anybody. And then we saw there was a after that the stabbing incidents in Sydney and at the church. There was another stabbing in a church, uh, and it was like talking about anti-socialism and like so we thought or like we've been thinking that this is like a redefined definition of the antisocial because what I thought going into it is just like someone who doesn't want to talk to anybody. That's what antisocial means.
Yeah.
Like just an
An
individual,
outsider.
an outsider who doesn't belong and or he doesn't like want like
Just
something
like
doesn't.
doesn't like small talk. Like, I don't like small talk.
Yeah, but the more we see it, I think it's just a like it's like I don't even
I
know.
think we don't understand what they mean by that.
Yeah, it's
Because,
like
like, if I'm at a basketball game and I, like, make a joke to the stranger sitting next to me and he, like, doesn't laugh because he's just not trying to talk to a stranger, like, I wouldn't call up this number and report him as a threat and have, like, the cops come down to his seat. I think we're,
yeah.
like, not understanding it right, but it sounds very strange to us.
Yeah, I think it's more of just like the antisocial behavior is like not fitting in and not being like being almost hurtful, like someone who would do like acts of terror to the community is like non-normal social behavior.
Yeah.
So like that's like the same as like seeing in the airport like report unusual behavior or like you know how they have those
Yeah.
signs and it's
Yeah.
like so that's a little weird thing that's different that we've noticed lately and
Like, I think we understand, like, the premise, but, like, I don't know. It's
yeah.
not like you can just report anyone that doesn't want to, like, socialize.
Yeah, so those were two little thoughts that we had, but now back to our journey.
Yeah, so
We were in Adelaide.
well, we were in Victoria after we flew to get our bags to Sydney. We did the Great Ocean Road after we spent, like, already 2 weeks in Melbourne. And then we kind of, like, rushed through South Australia, which I have always dreamt of doing South Australia, like, being there for a while, really.
Yeah.
Like doing Kangaroo Island off of Adelaide and like spending time in the vineyards outside of Adelaide. They're known for their wine down there. And just like seeing like the whole state, really. Or it's mostly just coastline towns. But we had to rush through it because we have a dog sitting job in Busselton, Western Australia, starting April 25th. And honestly, like, normally I would feel pretty bad that we rushed through something I, like, kind of always wanted to, like, take slowly. But I feel like we made the right decision because it's not, like, the best time of year to do South Australia because it is kind of cold down there. And we're kind of chasing the sun. Like, Western Australia is much warmer right now. And it was chilly every day that we did go through South Australia.
Yeah.
But so I'm happy because it's not the right time of year, and two, this lady who's hosting this dog sitting job is like the nicest person that we've ever talked to, and like she blows any other host out of the water. She is over the top nice. We FaceTimed with her. She sends us messages calling us pumpkins.
Yeah, it's so funny.
She sends us these like cute little Chinese emojis. We have no idea what they mean, but probably like good fortune and things like that. Yeah. She's so nice, and I can't wait to get there. And I just feel like we're meant to do that dog sit, so I'm really happy. Plus, my dream state to be in is Western Australia. So.
And it's lived up to the type so far. Yeah. It's been really nice.
It's only been a few days, and it's absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, and a couple of the people who we made friends with were talking about South Australia being like more posh, like they come from a higher standard. But I didn't really get that from them. I thought their workers were some of the like not nicest that we've dealt with.
Yeah, honestly, I think that we might have misunderstood him, and he was calling Victoria posh.
Yeah, but some of the towns were a little like, I'd rather not stop in this town. Like, but the coastal towns like Streaky Bay we were in, this park had, so this app we have is called Wiki Camps. Basically, I think there's a version for the U.S. and it's all like either free camping spots, caravan parks, camping spots. Just anywhere really to sleep, and that's a massive part of Australian culture. There's not as many Airbnbs down here, no real hotels, only like roadhouse motels, which are basically gas stations, a pub, and then a couple of rooms you could sleep in. So what everyone does down here is go to these RVs and caravan parks, and either just has like their trailer, their come-along trailer, or their fifth wheel, and they just post up. There's usually a kitchen, really nice bathrooms, or not really nice bathrooms.
Well, like quality because you're paying to stay there instead of like a free camp.
It's like typical price is like between 30 and 50 Australian dollars, which is only about 20 to 30 US dollars.
Yeah, what you're paying for is like the bathrooms, really.
Basically, yeah. And so this campsite in Streaky Bay was absolutely the most rated one we've ever seen. I think it was 600 reviews on it. Typically is between, like, the most you'll get I've ever seen besides that is like 150 reviews. And it lived up to its hype. We got there a little too late. It was dark, but it was beautiful. Like, right on the water, overlooking the bay.
Sunset.
Beautiful sunset.
The sunset lasted for so long.
And go into detail about the bathrooms.
Oh, the bathrooms were beautiful. So normally, like, you go in to a normal campsite bathroom and you have all the stalls lined up and then all the showers lined up beyond that or on the other side. And these ones, you walk into the big bathroom and they're like individual, think yacht club bathroom, like so cute, like individual bathroom. So every like individual bathroom had its own sink, toilet, shower curtain, like just dressing room.
Yeah, typically
there was like 10 individual bathrooms in this big room.
Yeah, typically the normal caravan park will just have like kind of locker room style. I'd say like 3 steps above a locker room. It's like usually very nice. Like the one we were in today had like a nice tiled floor, like with a design on the walls and stuff. So they're like nice places. But this one was just like you had your own little private,
yeah, it was really nice,
in suite. So that was really nice, and
And like a cutesy shower curtain instead of like the typical metal door you have to close behind you. So yeah.
Yeah, and we did a lot of. So I jumped ahead a little bit. We did a lot of the second day in Adelaide looking for bull bars.
Yeah, so that is exactly where we left off with the last podcast. Like, we were gonna go to the wineries, and I foregoed that. I don't know if I said that right. So that we could be on the safe side and get a bull bar. But
Well, we didn't end up getting one, and
that's what you put on the front of your car.
yeah, basically
to protect from the kangaroos that jump in the road.
Or animal strikes, yeah. So we went to a couple places. The first is at ARB, and it's like one of the most popular ones. And I mean, I'll get into this a little later about like expectations versus reality, and people just not really talking. They just give their opinions when like sometimes that's not how it actually is. And the ARB guy, we were talking. He gave some great information, but it was a little odd. He's saying like about hitting different animals, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you could hit a kangaroo. That's just like hitting a person, so it's not really a big deal." And we're like, we talked about this later, and we're like, we never hit a person. Like,
yeah,
what do you mean, guy?
We don't know how damaging that would be or not damaging. He was acting like it wouldn't be damaging. He's like, oh, kangaroos are just like hitting people, but worry about the emus and camels.
Yeah, like the emus, you'll hit them and they'll keep off running, and like a camel, you're done. They'll take you out. But and he just completely glazed over the fact that it sounds like he's hit a couple people in his day.
But basically, we needed this bull bar because, like we said, we were crossing the Nullarbor.
Yeah.
And I think we defined it wrong in the last podcast. We said it was 90 miles of straight road. But really, come to find out, it's this massive area of, like, nothingness. And by nothingness, don't picture desert. Picture, like...
small brush and, like...
green trees and, like, little trees, basically, because it's the treeless plain, but there's trees. Lots of, like, brushy green bushes everywhere. It's not a desert.
No.
Sometimes the roads are, like, red dirt because this is Australia, not like bright red dirt there. But yeah, so this long expansive area you have to cross, and there's not a lot of towns in between because no one really wants to live here. It's not like necessarily on the coast. The road does go along the coast, but like I don't know, it's just like so far from the major cities that no one built towns out here, so it's like over 12 hours of driving between
major towns.
Yeah,
so
that's the crossing. And you have to camp out of your car basically because you cannot drive at sunrise, before sunrise, or after sunset in Australia.
Because that's when the animals come out.
So like you're guaranteed to have to camp one night if you are crossing this road.
Yeah, and there's like a couple roadhouses that have like motel rooms and stuff. So when people say they're going to cross the Nullarbor, it's from a small town called Ceduna to another small town called Norseman. And it's about 1,000 miles in between these two towns, and there's nothing in between. There's every like 200 kilometers or like 100 miles, there will be a place to get gas and like a small, very small one or two building town. And they call these roadhouses. And everyone we talked to made this seem like it was like a feat of humanity crossing the Nullarbor. Like, oh, you're doing like such a crazy thing. Like, I'm not even sure how to compare it to stuff in the U.S. because there's nothing really. The U.S. has so much stuff in between, but it's basically going like just this one section, if you can imagine, going from Connecticut to Chicago with nothing in between, and that's what the Nullarbor is. There's not much in between, but people were hyping it up as some desolate wasteland where you don't want to go. There would be cars on the side of the road broken down, people stranded waiting for help. There was someone who
piles of roos.
Yeah, piles of dead kangaroos with vultures eating and picking at them.
Like he said, the man that works at Yamaha, well, we met this cool guy at a campsite, and he was like, yeah, like the road trains, these massive 18-wheelers that are like, they attach multiple what do you call that? Like
trailers.
So it's like 3 trailers of 18-wheelers in one vehicle called a road train. He's like, the road trains just plow through the kangaroos, and there's piles off to the side of the road which attract this massive bird to come prey on them, and it's like really crazy. You only see it on the Nullarbor.
Yeah, and we maybe saw 5 dead kangaroos.
Yeah, and that was like a 3-day.
Yeah, across 3 days.
2 days, yeah. Not a lot.
Yeah, there was more going in Tasmania.
Yes.
From Kingston to Hobart, which is a 20-minute drive. And
yeah, probably.
I don't know, this is kind of like what people like hype things up, and they really think that like what they've heard is what's out there, and like there's an expectation of doing things or like from what they've heard, and it's different from what real life is actually like. Like, we drove this, didn't see any kangaroos. It was easy. Like,
yeah,
people are scared to do things.
Nice.
Roads were well paved, and like the road trains weren't that long.
Yeah, the road trains, I was passing them left and right. They weren't that.
Yeah.
And they drive nice and fast. Like, they aren't that. They're like not a problem.
And the road trains are nice enough to like give you a signal when it's clear ahead of them, so you can pass them.
Yeah,
like,
if they're a slow driver.
I don't know. It's just like something that is like a scary thought for people, and then you go and do it, and it's not bad at all. It's like fun. Our campsite was pretty cool because we drove, we left Seduna, and the last like our road trip book that we've kind of made our little bit of a Bible and kind of following, gave us a recommendation to check out this oyster barn in Seduna because this area of Australia is known for their oysters. Didn't get oysters, but we got fish and chips, and it was a cool place, just a little, like, almost a diner-like place.
It was almost like one of those trailers that are made of, like, metal. What do you call them? Airstreams?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it was kind of like
It was like a trailer,
that.
Yeah.
And then you could go on the roof and look at the view of the water.
It's pretty cool, but the lady working, it seems like a lot of the workers down here, since it's not a service-driven area of the world, like, people don't depend on tips here, I feel like they can just get away with anything. Like,
yeah, they're not so friendly sometimes, and she was kind of rude to me.
Yeah, because we were just asking, there was like some...
There was sushi bowls behind her that were not on the menu anywhere, and I was like, oh, are those sushi bowls? And like, she was just being so rude answering me.
But that was the last place we stopped, got some meals, and then started our journey out on the Nullarbor, and we drove all day until we stopped at one of these places, like just to use the bathroom, one of the roadhouses or something like that. And I see just another car coming right behind us, and he has like these sticks tied to his roof, and I was like, oh, that's a little odd. And then we just start chatting with him, and he said he's like doing the same trip, and he's like, oh, you guys want to camp with us? Like, we're going to this spot. And his wife was talking to Maxi, and he was talking to me in the bathroom too. And that's how we started our
David
friendship.
And Julie, we were supposed to camp with them. They were so friendly. They were probably our parents' age. And they were like, you guys could be our camping buddies. Like, you want to make a fire? You want to hang out with us? Come camp with us on the cliff top. Because
it's called the Bunda Cliffs.
Yeah, so the Nullarbor does go along like these massive, like, I don't know, 200-foot tall cliffs.
400-foot tall cliffs.
400-foot tall cliffs. And you could just pull up your car to the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And camp there. And so he was like, come with us. You could be our camping buddies. And so, no service along the whole trip.
Yeah, we didn't exchange numbers. But he asked if we had a CV radio, and we don't. So.
Yeah, but we could not find him because there were multiple camping spots.
Yeah, he was just like, go to the one on Google Maps, and we just couldn't find him.
So that was kind of upsetting, but we found probably the best camping spot.
Yeah, our camping spot was so sick. It had a little bit of everything. There was sand dunes, there was cliffside, and it was just like amazing. One of the coolest free camp spots I've ever stayed.
Yeah, there was only one other car staying there, and it was off in the distance, so it felt very remote. It took us a long time to drive off the main road to get to this spot. And the sand dunes we were looking at them from above. They were unreal. Like, I was picturing the alchemist climbing these sand dunes, if you've read that book, but on the ocean. It was gorgeous, and it was sunset and sunrise the next morning.
Yeah, it was a beautiful spot, and then we felt bad, but we got going, and the next morning they told us about, or someone was telling us, I saw signs of a quarantine thing, and it's a quarantine station, and has nothing to do with COVID, but it has to do with like not allowing fruits and vegetables into Western Australia. And we talked to a bunch of people, and they said Western Australia is the only state, and Tasmania, that is really particular about this. We don't know why. Like, one of the persons we talked to was like, "Oh yeah, they took my onion skin, not the whole onion, just my onion skin." And so we're like, "All right, let's just bag up." We had some lemons, and we have a tree we smuggled from Tasmania. So we're like, "We'll hide the tree, and we'll."
That's not true.
Yeah, allegedly. We'll give them our lemons and just like all of our rubbish that we have.
Oh, and luckily we camped on the border, so we got to eat up all of our produce the night before in the free camping spot on the cliff. And then when we crossed, we really just, like Corey said, gave them our lemons.
Yeah, and the lady, it was like, it was way too serious. Like,
no, but it like wasn't serious though, because she asked me to open the glove box, and I was like, it's locked, because that's where we keep our like passports and stuff. So we always have it locked, and I swear to God, there's no food or anything in there that like she'd want to see. But I was like, oh, Corey, come unlock this, and she was like, no, it's fine, that it's locked. And then she was like, all right, you guys are good.
Yeah, go on, get out of there. So we could have smuggled more stuff over the border.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. But
it was very serious. It was like this huge
It was
customs.
like going into a different country.
Yeah, and it's the same country. Like California, if you fly from California to Connecticut, they do not ask you to declare the food you're taking on the plane. Like, it's so strange to me, because Australia is a little bit smaller than the U.S., so it's not like you. And
Western Australia is so big.
Yeah.
So it's pretty odd that they did that. But another weird thing about like Western Australia was the time zones.
Oh yeah, so weird.
So we knew about the hour and a half, like half-hour time zones, wild. But my phone, the night we were camping, we were close to the border, so my phone already adjusted to Perth time zone, which is...
And mine did not.
Yeah, so compared to the U.S., it is 12 hours behind New York time. So 8 in the morning is 8 at night. And
Western Australia does not abide by daylight savings, and they just did daylight savings the other day, I think after Easter in Australia. So it used to be 3 hours behind Sydney over here in Western Australia, and I think now it's 2 hours behind Sydney.
Yeah, it's something like that. And
an hour and a half behind Adelaide.
Yeah, and so we were like, all right, my phone's on Perth time. Maxi's phone hasn't updated. She has no service, and it's still on Adelaide time. And then all of a sudden we start driving, we get across the border. My phone switches to like, I couldn't even do the math. But we eventually realized it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, because it was a weird time.
And then we looked it up in this one town. Well, another side tangent. They call like, basically like the New Haven County would be a shire. They call it the Shire of Eucla, the Shire of Esperance, the Shire of Bremer Bay, and it's just like basically the county. And probably the Shire of Esperance is like the size of Connecticut. It's huge. But this one shire has a 45-minute time zone, and our phones were just bouncing from Perth, Adelaide, Eucla time. It didn't make sense. So that was a really long day of driving, and we just jumped through so many time zones we didn't know what time it was during the day. So,
but it kind of helped us, I think, because we drove for actually 9 hours and 40 minutes, or 9 hours and 30 minutes that day,
and it was all sunlight.
Yeah, and I think that it was because we went through so many time zones that we were able to get to Esperance, which was like a great destination to make it to that day.
So, like, I think we were so screwed up on the time. We got up at, like, 5 in the morning, but it was, like, it was, like, normally our 6:30 or something.
Yeah.
So we had a whole day of driving, and we made it. Made it across the Nullarbor. Wasn't that bad. It was just like a 40-mile straight road, 40-mile straight road, 100-mile straight road, just straight roads with one turns, and that was
Yeah.
it.
It had that 90 miles straight, like we mentioned, but that was just a feature of the massive drive.
And you know what? I looked up like longest, straightest roads in the world. Guess where that ranks?
17th.
Is it?
No,
Nah.
I just guessed.
It was top 10, but
Oh.
that is the like I think it was around like 8th, and there's some roads in the U.S. are longer and straighter than that, but the longest and straightest one in the world is in Saudi Arabia, and it goes for like 1,000 miles just straight.
Wow.
Yeah, so a little fun fact for you people.
So Corey and I were like so bored that we were discussing what makes them not build a straight roads. Like, why do they decide to make little tiny curves?
My dad always used to say, like in the straight roads in Florida, they had to make the little curves because they had to adjust for the curvature of the earth.
And then you could tell them about the wave.
Oh yeah. So after a while of driving, I just like started looking at other people's cars and that are coming onto us, and I was like, oh, some people are waving at me. I wonder why. And then I noticed it's like similar to the Jeep wave in the States. There's a Land Cruiser wave down here, and everybody on the Nullarbor, or just everybody who has Land Cruisers, just waves to each other. So I think we've been missing it for the first couple months that we've had this car. So now we're in the Land Cruiser Wave Club. We're just waving to all our buddies in different Land Cruisers, which is fun.
Wait, I just thought it was every car.
No, I think it's just Land Cruisers.
Oh.
But sometimes I think it might be every car.
Well, the thing down here is that everyone drives the Land Cruiser. It's like one of the only options for like a four-wheel drive car.
Four-wheel drive, yeah.
And I don't think their car market down here has all the options. Like America has so many car options, and like you might buy a nicer car than someone for like a status thing, but no, down here they just want like off-roady effective cars that can get them on these unsealed roads and like whatever. We'll talk more about that soon, but like we haven't seen flashy cars in so long.
No.
Like no one drives like what you would say like a bragging rights car. If you have a bragging rights car, it's because you have the most off-roading car that's all set up.
So like the highest end cars would be a brand new 2024 Land Cruiser, like that is souped up, has off-roady wheels, has like the whole get up, all your like recovery gear, it just like looks like what you'd imagine an off-road car would look like big souped up tires and like 16-inch rims, just really like off-road style. But that's like the highest end cars we've seen, and we saw like a Defender today, and we were like, oh.
Yeah, we were like, oh, it's been so long since we've seen like a wow car.
Yeah.
But yeah, different car culture down here.
And our journey continued, and we had to drive through some funny named towns like how do you say it?
Salmon Gums.
Salmon Gums.
So Corey was like, oh, we're coming up on this town, Salmon Gums. And he mentioned it like hours before when looking at the map, Salmon Gums. And then I realized that it was Salmon Gums. And he was reading it as Salmon Gums.
I don't know. You don't see that as like a town name ever. So I was like, oh.
Salmon?
But it also could be to do with the fact that I'm reading Lord of the Rings, and there's Saruman and Sauron and different pronunciations of the S. And yeah, those are some other funny names. Like Lake King was another funny town name we drove through.
Yeah.
Jaramungup.
Yeah, they have a lot of cool like Aboriginal named places that it's very hard to pronounce.
Yeah, and on our long day of driving, we're so lucky because all these caravan parks close at 5. These people don't work. The check-in times like
Wait, I just want to
5.
mention something before you go into the story.
Go for it.
I was driving. I did most of the 90-mile straight myself. And I saw 2 camels. Wild camels off on the side of the road, and I was freaking out. I saw them pretty well in advance, and I was like freaking out and pointing to Corey, and he could not see them. I was like, they're right there, they're right there, they're right next to you. And he was looking too far into the distance because they were like near a tree on a hill. But they were kind of right off to the side of the road. And we were kind of laughing at the ARB bull bar guy who was saying, like, watch out for camels. And other bull bar salesmen at other companies were, like, someone told you to watch out for camels? But, like, I saw them. I saw two.
I know. I didn't have the eyes to see them.
But anyways, tell them about how we drove that super long day and made it just in time.
So yeah, all these caravan parks work the least. They do the least.
Yeah.
Check-in hours 2 to 5. And these are places where, and you can do like after hours check-in where you got to call somebody and, like, or whatever. There's like instructions on, or if you like arrive late, there's like late check-ins. But there was a caravan park, was it called Bathers Paradise?
Yep.
And
In Esperance.
And we called her.
We didn't have any service. We finally, like, Corey's phone gets, like, a moment of service, and we call her, and we're 10 minutes away.
4:45, and we're like, we'll be there at 4:55.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, okay, better get here before 5, because that's when we close.
Yeah, and she's like, we don't do late check-ins, so.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, place would be like, all right, yeah, just give me your card now, and I'll charge you, leave out the info.
But we told her we would be there before 5, so, like, I don't even know. She was just, like, being kind of rude.
Yeah, and we get there, pull up exactly 4:55.
No, I think we made it a minute earlier.
Yeah, like 4:54. And we look at the door, shop closed, no late check-ins. And then I'm like, oh, Maxi, just go run over there and see if there's anyone still in the office. And you saw the lady.
Well, it's funny because, like, I literally told her on the phone, we're 10 minutes away exactly. And then I made a joke to Corey, like, imagine she runs out of there early because she doesn't feel like waiting for us. And that's exactly what she does. Corey made me hop out of the car, and I see her going upstairs. She had to go on this external staircase to go to her house or something because it's a family-run business. And she made the mistake of looking over her shoulder because I didn't know she was the owner or the worker. I just thought I saw a person walking upstairs, and I was looking at her as I was walking up. And when she looked and made eye contact with me, it just was obvious that she was the worker. And she was like, oh, I'll come back down. And she had to come reopen shop and, like, check us in, which was so rude of her to ditch.
But we could tell she felt bad. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I was trying to sneak out early.
Yeah, she felt bad because she was caught.
Yeah.
If she didn't look over her shoulder, I probably wouldn't have had the guts to be like, hi, are you the worker?
Yeah.
But she looked over her shoulder, and we got checked in, and we made friends there. It was a cute little spot.
Yeah, we got tucked away in the corner, and no one puts baby in the corner, but they put us in the corner.
Well, there was a ton of, like, young couples in rooftop tents just like us. So.
Yeah, so that was good to see. Most of these places have, like, older people that aren't our age, kids, yeah.
But Jaden and Sydney, we made friends with them. It was a Canadian girl and a Australian guy from Brisbane, or Brizzy.
Brizzy, yeah. And we were like, all right, let's meet up. Where are you guys camping at? Like, we'll separate for the day and try and get to your campsite. And they told us this free camp spot that was, like, about an hour away from Lucky Bay. So we went to Lucky Bay for the day. Oh, most beautiful beach in the world.
Seriously, it's considered the whitest sand in the world, like, scientifically.
Ranked #1 beach in the world.
Bluest sand. I mean, bluest water.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
And it definitely lived up to its hype. It was amazing.
It comes out of nowhere. It comes out of, like, these green mountains with, like, rock face.
Yeah, like brown rock face with like water erosion marks going down the sides, and
then
all low shrubs.
Beach comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I didn't even know how the water was that clear and that blue. It was just very, very pretty.
Yeah, it was probably up until that point, it was our favorite beach.
Yeah, I think so. And we explored it. We drive down it and hung out.
Oh, yeah, because you could drive on all the beaches down
Everybody
here.
drives on the beaches, and I'm telling you, it's the best thing ever. Just like, it's a little sketchy getting on and off the beach sometimes, but when you're on the beach, at least for us, we literally have our entire lives in this in the car. So what we do is drive down the beach. Oh, you want to make a sandwich? Yeah, we got everything in the fridge. We could cook a meal down there if we wanted to.
Yeah, pull out the chairs, bring out the awning, bring out the
nice.
Towels. Like, we have everything with us. We didn't have to carry it down to the beach.
And that is just such a luxury because you just drive right down and you're set up.
And everyone else is driving down on their cars.
It's amazing. The driving on beaches, I wasn't really sure about it, but I love it. But it does make the beach not look as nice, and I think it really packs down the sand, so it's like less comfortable on the beach, but at the same time it adds more comfort to your beach day. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy there.
Yeah. I mean, I did not think that it took away from the prettiness of Lucky Bay until we went to a different beach, which we'll get there. That one didn't have cars, and it was
We can
my
talk
new
about it.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next day we'll go back and talk about what we did for the night before, but these beaches in this area, it's Cape Legrand, and it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, all the beaches are so blue with the whitest sand. So the next day we went to Wharton's Bay, and there was like this extra light blue
Swimming
area near the rocks, and I was like, Corey, we have to go in there. And it's just so low tide, not low tide, but like
just
shallow, and it's beautiful. There's
No
nothing on the
waves,
sand. There's
yeah.
nothing on the sand. You're not stepping on shells.
No seaweed.
There's no like crabs. There's just plain white sand under the water, and you can see through it perfectly. It might be clearer than Tasmania, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so clear. So we swam there, and that was gorgeous. And then we drove down and hung out on the beach with our car. And then later, was it the same day that we went to? No, the next day we went back to Lucky Beach or Lucky Bay.
Yeah.
And then we checked out some other beaches in the national park. Well, we went to Cape Arid
National Park
and slept there and took a long run. Corey's run was longer than mine on the Thomas River estuary / beach. So pretty, massive beach.
Yeah. And the other beach that we thought was just amazing, it was a no-car beach called Hellfire Bay. And
that was back in Cape Legrand.
That was in Cape Legrand, and that might have been the bluest water, whitest sand. Just amazing. People like swimming, playing in the water. It was stunning. Maxi had to be like dragged out of there because she didn't want to leave.
Yeah, and I think we already had way too much sun exposure from the weekend and that day in itself. And by the time we got there, I was like, oh, I want to stay here forever. Like, I want to plant myself and just live here on this beach, on this rock, overlooking the blue, clear, shallow water with everyone playing. And like, it was just outstanding. And but just way too much sun that day. Like, I had a full outfit on to protect my skin, and we had to go.
Yeah, so that was.
But I will be back there.
That was one of the most beautiful beaches we've
Hellfire
ever seen.
Bay.
And that whole national park was amazing. But to jump back to our friends, we wanted to try and camp with them, and Google Maps was like, "Oh, this is the way." I was like, all right, this looks good. We have such a limited service here that like we're lucky when a Google Maps route loads.
It's always on Corey's phone. My phone never has service, and I'm the one that has the Australian phone plan.
I know. We really should get physical maps just because these maps don't really work that well. And Google Maps was routed us, and it was like, all right, save like 20 minutes. No, it was like save 30 minutes taking this route. And I was like, okay, that's fine. From Lucky Bay to a campsite. I forget the name of it, but it was just a free campsite on
Menembuk or something.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, let's just follow it down. And then we get to like the end of a sealed road, which is a paved road, onto an unsealed road. And they're like, okay, this is fine. And then Maxi's like, no, turn hard left. And I look, and it's like a 4-wheel driving track. And I'm like, all right, let's.
That means off-roading, sand, puddles,
deep sand, river crossings.
Basically not a road.
Yeah, like not a road. And Google was like, yeah, this is more fuel efficient to take this road and faster.
Yeah, it said, do you want to go 7 kilometers or do you want to go 40 or something? 38?
And so it was getting late, and we're like, all right, let's just go down this road, see how really bad it is. And it was pretty bad. There was deep sand, and eventually we got to like a pretty sketchy river crossing area. And I'm like, I am not that good of an off-road driver. Like, I'm fine, but I really have never done any river crossings or creek crossings. So I'm just like, let's just turn around here and head back. So Google just is not good at telling you what is the road.
Well, we were literally racing the sunset because we only got a kilometer in, and by the time we did decide to turn around and we're coming out on that 1 kilometer of like off-roading, the sun was in our eyes. I couldn't even see the sketchiness.
Yeah, so...
But Corey's a really good driver, and we took an off-roading course up in Vermont before we came out here on purpose. And
it's just doing these off-roading things alone, and we don't have like a winch. We don't have really that much recovery gear. We just have a shovel. So just getting stuck, it would be like...
Oh, and it was narrow. Like, I wouldn't want to get out in that narrow path and be against the bushes and like not know what creatures were gonna jump out at me.
Yeah, but after we got some service and I looked at the trail, it looked like it got worse. And I read some reviews on like the wiki camps of people saying, "Oh yeah, don't go down that off-roading trail. That is sketch. There's a different route that you could take that Google doesn't recommend all the time, and it's down all sealed roads directly to the campsite." So we ended up not doing that. There was actually an RV park or a caravan park right next to where the off-roading trail started. And
so we stayed there. We had to use the little, what do you call it?
Walkie-talkie.
A walkie-talkie, because it was after hours, to ask the man if we could stay there.
This was the best after-hours system. Usually you call, but like sometimes we don't have service to call.
Yeah.
He had it attached to walkie-talkie, and you just ring him up on the walkie-talkie, and he comes and lets you in, lets you pay, easy that.
And he has something written that you have to say into the walkie-talkie. It's like basically being in the military or something.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so he was really cool, but the park was really quirky. But I guess we should talk about how he had a Chiang Mai shirt on, and I mentioned it. And he was obsessed with Chiang Mai, Thailand, and would not stop talking about Chiang Mai with us.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
He was cool.
He was a cool owner, but he was definitely a lot nicer than the park was nice.
Yeah.
So it was definitely one of the more shady... They gave us a shady acres.
In Florida.
If you can picture that, yeah. Vibe, and they tucked us away in the corner again. So we usually go for unpowered sites. And I would rather have an unpowered site in that situation just because it was like all trailers with corrugated steel around them. So,
oh yeah, it was like a little town in this caravan park.
Yeah, it looked like there was some permanent resis there. So that was one of the sketchy ones, but it didn't give a sketchy vibe. Like we didn't see any people about. Just the buildings looked like they needed some TLC.
Yeah, and there's a real dichotomy to like the sketchiness here because it was like had more effort put in than other caravan parks. Like he had mini golf and a basketball court, a hairdresser that lived in like the little town area of the caravan park.
So it seemed like he was building a town.
Yeah, I think he was just straight up building a town, but so he had like more effort than a lot of parks do, but it was just more
not that nice.
Like sketchy.
It was just the facilities weren't as nice. Like, I mean, you actually like the showers more than.
Yeah, I like the showers, but then Corey told me this horror story from the showers, so I'll let him.
I don't want to relive it.
No, you have to.
So I walk into the bathroom, and everyone knows if you wear no shoes in these bathrooms, you're coming out with something. So obviously we have our shower shoes and stuff, and there's 2 shower bays, and that's it. And there's 2 different shower heads, and if anyone knows me, I'm a big water pressure guy. So I turn on both showers to see what water pressure is better.
What?
Yeah, and I like one that's obviously better and has a nicer shower head. And I'm like starting to set up in there, and then I look down and I see like these 3 little like worms, but they're not like the normal size of like a normal worm. They're like super skinny, and they're like almost remind me of like a parasite worm. Like
probably
it was absolutely disgusting. So I'm like,
3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them. Not showering in that shower bay. Go to the one over. That one seemed clean. Got in, got out as quick as I could because it was just gross. But
before Corey told me this story, I was like, "Oh, I love my shower. Like, I love the live edge wood."
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It was a decent bathroom, I thought, until I heard this horror story.
So that was fairly gross, and I'm happy I've made it through all good.
Thank God. And we have our shower shoes always.
Yeah, it was very, very nice.
But we saw a cool animal at this campsite. because it was
Oh yeah.
it was very remote. There was other cars around us, thank God, but
So in the comments of the wiki camps, it would say like this is the most bush-like camping experience, which I think means just like you go down into the woods and you camp, and that's exactly what it was. So the non-powered section was like if you can picture a small town that had 2 streets, maybe 20 houses, or no, probably 10 houses on each street in a grid, and then on one side on like the left side of this town, there was one section for caravans. And then, like above that, there was another section for caravans, all powered sections. Then, to like the opposite end, through the town, and then through another road, down a small hill, there was the unpowered section. So we were completely isolated from the town, and I'm calling it a town when it's really like 20 houses, 20 RVs. Um, and we were completely alone except for the 2 other cars, but like completely separated. And there was a bunch of like noises, and we were getting a little sketchy, and then we heard like something swoop by us. We're like, what is that? And I get my really nice flashlight out and shine it at the trees, and it's just this little owl that was the darnest thing. And his head did a full 180 to look at me, which was pretty cool, but he was our friend after that.
yeah, and I told Corey, I was like, owls are a sign of wisdom and like just knowledge. So I feel like because you made the smart decision of turning around on that off-road track a few minutes beforehand, and you did the safe thing for us, and we are camping at this place now, which is surprisingly safe.
Yeah.
That was you growing, because normally Corey's more adventurous and probably would try to send it down that road at sunset, but he was like, no. The dishes are smashing in the back of our trunk together, and our plant is flying everywhere
Oh,
because it's that crazy of an off-roading track. Let's just turn around. So the owl was a good sign of your
wisdom.
yes.
Yes, and that was one of many of the animals of the week.
But wait, I don't know
Did
if
we-
you want to go through what a sealed versus unsealed road is,
Oh yeah.
or if it's not important.
I mean, I'll just go through it basically.
I feel like there's a few categories.
We've learned, yeah, there's definitely categories of roads, but then there's like subcategories that they don't tell you. Sealed roads are just paved roads. Unsealed roads are hard packed gravel dirt roads. Typically, like you can go as fast as you want. I mean, or as fast as the speed limit on paved roads. They're just normal roads. Everybody has them. These unsealed roads, like maximum we were going was about 80 kilometers an hour, or like.
Yeah, they're not as bad as I expected.
Yeah.
They're like normal roads. They're just made of dirt.
They're hard packed dirt roads,
Yeah, hard.
and they get tended to. But there's some unsealed roads that have these corrugations that are basically just wash marks in the road. So driving over them, it's just like complete chaos in the car. It's just shaking up and down violently. And we went on one of these roads that was so bad that we could either go like 5 miles an hour on it to make it comfortable, but then we saw some tracks. Maxi pointed out, he's like, looks like everyone's driving on the side of the road, like in the ditch.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's try it. And that was like actually better than the road. So I think people just
so much better.
Just drive on the sides of the roads in these like little ditches, and that has just become the road in that area.
Yeah. But yeah, now we're in Bremer Bay, and it's rainy, and we're looking out at this blue water on this rainy, cloudy day. Yeah. And we'll probably head to Albany.
I think Albany's the next move for us, and we'll see what that holds.
Like you were starting to say, we'd be remiss if we didn't
go over the animals of the week. Yes. That's what everyone thinks Australia is, just animals.
Yeah, so we forgot to mention on Phillip Island, back in the Melbourne area, we saw bandicoots, and you need to Google bandicoots because they're so cute.
I don't know, they're basically just like rats.
No, they're so cute. We saw them at the penguin parade.
And it was actually a pretty cool sight because they're an endangered species, I think, at least in that area.
They ask you to report them when you see them so they can learn more about like where they're living.
Yeah, so we saw an endangered animal.
And then on the Nullarbor, I saw like a goat. a random cute little goat on the side of the road.
Some dragonflies at campsites.
Yeah, the dragonflies were following us at nighttime. It was so special because those are spiritual.
Yeah, there's a couple cats at our campsites. I think Australia has a really bad feral cat and fox problem here, because that's what everyone talks about. The cats and foxes are killing everyone's native animals, like the bandicoots.
The cats?
The cats are, yeah. They're feral cats.
Well, the cats that we've seen are people's pets because they're cute.
True, they're nice.
I don't know, but they do have a fox problem, I guess. I've seen that.
We saw the big bird that people were saying was going to be all over the Nullarbor, but we saw it closer to Esperance.
Yeah, we only saw it twice on the Nullarbor. It's a very big bird.
I don't even know how to compare it to anything.
Yeah, it's
bigger than an eagle.
Yeah, bigger than a bald eagle.
It's
but black and whitish.
It's bigger than a vulture too.
Yeah, it's thicker.
Yeah.
But looks like a big ass raven. Sorry, excuse me. Excuse my French. Excuse my Australian. Oh wait, side note, going on that tangent, there was this man we met at the Streaky Bay kitchen, and he was out of his mind, and he kept calling the presidents of the United States CUNTs, and he was just yelling about it, and that's such an Australian thing to use that word.
I know.
Casually.
He was a funny guy, but he was a weirdo too.
Yeah.
Another small talk.
He was crazy.
Small talk experience.
Obviously, he brought up American politics.
Yeah.
But back to the animals.
Maxi saw a camel. I did not see it.
We saw kangaroos on Lucky Bay, and we saw them on the side of the road.
And then we finally saw kangaroos on the side of the road that people have been warning about. But we got these whistlers. I don't know if you talked about the whistlers.
Oh no. Because we could not get a bull bar in Adelaide. We tried so hard. We called probably 15 stores.
Yeah, we couldn't get one there and that. So we said, let's get these whistlers. And the wind blows through them, and they make this subsonic noise.
Noise.
That humans can't hear. A supersonic noise?
I don't know.
And the animals hear it, and it scares them. So
people swear by them for safety.
Yeah.
So we got those. We stacked our car full of them, and we do notice the kangaroos off on the side of the road. We'll be like, what? So we think it's our whistlers.
Yes, and we saw a couple emus running down the road, which were funny to see those guys run.
So funny.
The owl, a couple of nice seagulls we saw on the beach on our beach run in the Thomas River area. And on our way down there, we saw, it was on a very unsealed road. Maxi saw this, yeah.
And I was just looking off onto the side, and I saw a few, holes. Big holes, big burrows off on the side of the road, made out of, the red dirt. And I saw a massive lizard tail hanging out of one. And, yeah, so that was pretty crazy.
The Lizzie was nuts, and I think that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening again. Did we miss anything?
No. I mean, we could mention how, Melbourne was jam-packed with bull bars that we could have bought then and there and got installed the next day. And we were like, no, we'll just get them in Adelaide because we're pressed for time. And then we get to Adelaide, and they're like, oh, yeah, you can get a bull bar from us.
In September.
They're like, it's in Queensland. For your model of car, it's in Queensland, so we'll have to freight it down here. And then we can only install it in September because our books are filled.
Yeah.
So basically, we called so many places, and either they had them or they didn't have them, and if they had them, they couldn't put it on our car for several weeks to months, so
we just ended up going without it. And
so we have the whistlers, like Corey said. But we're gonna get one, I think, in Perth.
Yeah, because they said they had more there.
But they said it's upcharged in Perth, so wish us luck. Love you guys.
All right, love you guys, and I hope everyone has a good day.
Have a good day.